All right. Looks like you've got all three of us. So we will begin with the Thurston County Public Health and Human Services. Mark, I see you there. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great. Nice to see you. I don't think we've met. Randy, it's been many years. Nice to see you're still there. And Kevin, I don't think I've met you either.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Mark. Appreciate you coming in.
You bet. It's been we try to do well prior to COVID, we were trying to do this every year or maybe every 2 years to brief you guys on what we do for you guys. We do have an MOU. Well, I should introduce myself. I'm Mark Moffit. I'm the Social Services Program Manager for Thurston and Mason's Developmental Disabilities Program. So we do have an MOU with Mason County to administer services in your county. There are a few other counties in the state that do this with neighboring counties. Usually it's a smaller county adjacent to a larger county, and it makes more sense to combine those services, especially when we share providers that cross the county and provide services for folks. So I will go into slides. Hopefully the slides will answer 90% of your questions. And then we can get to the ones I don't. Where is it? Not seeing it. There it is. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
All right, great. So I'll move on to the next slide. So our job is to help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities find employment and engage with our communities. And we do that with employment. We do that with other activities, and you'll see that here shortly with all the different things that we can provide for folks in our communities to help them integrate and just kind of be everybody else in our county. It hasn't been like that in 20, 30 years ago, but we're moving in the right direction. Where are we at? All right, so this is my team that supports both Thurston and Mason County. So I'm the program manager. I have Lenice Milam, who is my quality assurance manager. And what she does is she monitors contracts to make sure that our providers are providing the best service to our clients. Marcia, she's my fiscal specialist, and she handles all the invoicing and billing for providers between us and the providers, and then us and Developmental Disabilities Administration. Candace is my program assistant, and she kind of does everything else. And if you call the office, that's the person you're probably going to get. And so she helps out with all of the programs that we offer. I have 2 vacant positions right now: high school transition specialist. And so we'll talk about high school transition in just a moment, but that one is vacant. And then also my special recreation supervisor. And it might be interesting for you to know some of the Mason County businesses that work with us. So all of these have at one time and maybe currently have one of our clients employed there. They also do internships. So in our school to work program, a lot of students don't know what they want to do. Most of us didn't know what we wanted to do coming out of high school, and so internships help them understand working environments, and so a lot of these businesses really support us in that way, and just having somebody come out for a week or two and show them what employment really looks like. And please stop me if you have any questions. So here are the programs that we offer. So we talked a little bit about supported employment. Supported employment is so what the progression of supported employment. We start with discovery. Again, a lot of people don't know what they want to do for work. And so we learn about our providers. We have 5 providers in the county, both counties. And the provider will work with the client to find out what they want to do, when they want to do it, times of the day, hours of the week. A lot of times they want to work with animals, or they want to work at a grocery store. And so we go through the process of informing them of what that looks like. So that's our discovery process. And then once we know a little bit about that client, we move into job development, where a job developer will go out to the community, to many of those businesses that you saw on the last slide, and kind of sell that client to the business, and we create a resume for them and let the businesses know what they can expect from one of our clients. And then when they do get a job, we have job coaches that go out with them to teach them how to do the job and to do it the way the employer wants them to do it. So it's very advantageous to not only the client but also to the employer. And then at some point we want those job coaches to fade away, because that person should be independent in their job at some point. And then community inclusion, that's not work related, that's everything else. What is that person interested in? As we know, work is not your entire life. At least if some or burden what they want, community inclusion can help them interact and get out into the community to find those clubs or organizations that support those opportunities. So we do offer community inclusion. Up until 2023, up until January of this year, clients were only allowed to either have supported employment or community inclusion as an option. The Developmental Disabilities Administration changed that this year, so now they can have dual services. So not only can they have employment, but they can also do community inclusion, which is a great opportunity for our clients. Currently, we only have about 5% of our total clients between both counties participating in dual services. We have high school transition. So high school transition, most people, they graduate at 18, their senior year, but people with an intellectual and developmental disabilities, they stay in school until they're 21, so 18 to 21. And in their last year of school, we help them on vocational. We don't want to just have them graduate and then retreat back home and not engage in the community. So we help them find a job in that last year between the time they're 20 and 21. With the goal of having everybody employed when they graduate at that point. And so high school transition, it's a 1-year program. We do have a pilot program that works with clients the year before high school transition to prep them for high school transition. It's called Job Foundation. And so our providers will work with the individual clients, and again, do kind of that discovery and job prep that we talked about in supported employment. To get them ready for high school transition, to kind of give them a leg up. And then we have lots of community supports and services that we offer. So back up just a little bit. So supported employment and community inclusion are both paid from the Developmental Disabilities contract, state contract. High school transition is through our contract with Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And then our community supports and services is funded through millage. And we'll talk about how that breaks down here in just a moment. Any questions on those? All right. All right. So although this says Mason Developmental Disabilities Program budget, I wanted you to see what our total budget from DGA is. So that first line, that $6.4 million, that's what DGA gives us for both counties. They don't really break it down in our contract, but we do break down, you'll see that in just a second, what comes from Mason and what comes from Thurston. And to support those community supports and services, Mason County millage, that's estimated to be about just under 100,000 this year. All right. Okay, so we talked about providers and what they do and where they do it. So we have 5 contracted employment providers. Shows only 4 up here because one of them does not work in Mason County. So you're probably all familiar with Exceptional Foresters, Career Quest. They are located out of Mason County. That's where their offices are. We also have Morningside and Vadis that work out of Mason and Thurston. Vadis provides, and you can see what they offer. So the first 3 offer both individual supported employment and community inclusion in your county, whereas Vadis only offers individual supported employment. Currently, we have about 56 clients in Mason County for supported employment, and for community inclusion, we have another 18. All right, so here's what DDA gives us specifically for Mason County. We have $854,641 for the contract year starting July of this year and ending June of next. And it's broken down in those three categories below. So direct services, which includes individual employment and community inclusion, those funds go to the providers at $721,000. And then we have community information and education. So those are additional programs or projects that we can offer. For instance, we're next month on October 5th, we're going to have our first annual Mason County Resource Fair. And so funding for that comes out of community information and education. And what that resource fair is, we bring as many providers as possible that operate in Mason County. And then so I can't remember where it's going to be. I will definitely send you an invitation. But then we bring in the clients and their families and guardians and show them what's available for their student and children. Because a lot of folks, especially when they're new to DDA, they've known that their child may have had a developmental disability growing up, but they haven't really looked past high school. And so we see a lot of families that say, well, I don't see my child ever working. But then you see this, then you come to this resource fair and you see all the supports there that are meant to make that child successful. And it really changes, some of the minds. It's that beginning of the change. So we have it every year in Thurston County, but we wanted to come out to Mason County to see what kind of participation we have. So hopefully this is the first of many years to come. So that comes out of our community information and education.
Mark, did you have a date for that yet?
Yes, it's October 5th. It's going to be in the evening, and I will get back to you on a place. I want to. Yeah, I don't know offhand. I think it's at a middle school. I wasn't involved in the planning. I'm sorry. I should have came with that, but I will make sure you get that today.
All right, great. Thank you.
You bet. Any questions on these numbers? Oh, program administration, which is important to note. And we'll see. The next slide goes over what we spent last year for Mason County. But this year was the first time that DDA gave the counties a raise in the administration funds. For the last 20 plus years, it was locked in at 7% of the contract. This year, it's at 10%. And so it's only 10% of direct services. So that's why the numbers are a little bit off. It really depends on the money that we're looking at. So it doesn't come out of the community information. It comes out of direct services. And then we'll see what that looked like last year. But 77,000 is what we can bill DDA for services for Mason County. All right. So this is last year. I wanted you to see where your money went for last year. So if you look in the top left, B+, these are waivers, so core and CP programs. Those are just different programs within DDA. And so 691,000 went straight to direct services, and we used 100% of that. And one of the great things about having dual counties is that we can share some of the funds between the counties, because as you saw earlier, agencies work cross county. So it's great that we're able to share. We're able to use 100%. If we were, it was probably over that. Don't look at the target percentage. I just asked my fiscal person about that. She said that's an error in the program, in the formula. And then if you go down to the next category, admin, we used about $38,000 for administrative services just for Mason County. So it's, as you saw of my staff, you've got a large staff, and only $38,000 came out of that to administer this program. And it's kind of hard to see on this table, but from when you see JF admin on down, those are the community supports. So JF is Job Foundation. I talked about that's the year before high school transition. Training, community info ed dollars. that's what we're allowed to, or that's what we spent last year from your contract. Again, that goes to like training some of your providers, Mason County resource fair, things of that nature. And then the last one, the JF, the Job Foundation VBP, those are payments that go to the providers when they finish a Job Foundation report. Any questions on these? All right. Okay, so this slide's about millage, and it's directed by the state, RCW 71-2110, and so each county must collect an annual tax of 2.5 cents per $1,000, and I think I have it on another slide, but that equates to just under $100,000 were estimated for Mason County alone for this year. And then that money goes into some of the other services that you'll see on the next slide. So millage money, that's property tax, and it's just mandated for being spent on mental health and developmental disabilities. That's what that RCW will tell you. And so here's where we're spending the majority of millage dollars. So Arc of the Peninsulas, they have a couple of programs that we contract with them. Healthy relationships. That's to teach our clients what a positive relationship looks like. I mean, we can all probably use that type of training, but we were able to pay for this through millage money. We had last year, I believe, we had between 8 and 12 clients participate in that program. We also have Job Club through the ARC. And rep payee. So rep payee is when a client, maybe they live on their own and they can't really budget their money, and so the rep payee can come in and allocate their money to bills and budget them money for spending money and things like that. And so we have two agencies that work in Mason County, Arc of the Peninsula and Coastal Community Action, that does that as well. And one of the bigger programs that we initiated probably about 4 or 5 years ago through Coastal is the transportation program. We realize, and especially out in Mason County, that rural transportation is not really effective for a lot of our clients, and it's one of the hurdles for employment. So we contract with Community Action to provide. They have a van. They have 2 vans, and they go throughout the county, both Thurston and Mason. And they will pick up our clients when it's work-related activity, and that has been a huge success. In fact, so much so that we want to allocate more money this coming year so that they can provide more transportation, because they are maxed out. They've been maxed out for the last I think 1.5 years. So we're looking forward to them expanding. Yeah. Any questions on any of those providers? Okay. All right. So you can see here, client serve. Oh, this is Community Coastal. What they've done just in Mason County. So 52 clients have been served in 2022, and over 5,000 miles driven. So these are some of the points that we make sure that we. This is how we invoice with Coastal. So they have a certain amount of clients they have to serve and distances. So we keep track of this monthly. So 2023, they saw a drop in the number of clients in Mason County. I don't have an answer to why that happened, but we're only halfway through the year. All right. So we talked a little bit about DVR, Division of Voc Rehab, and the program School to Work that they offer, and that's to get people in the last year of high school in a job. And so when a provider like EFI or Career Quest find a job for a student, they get an outcome payment of $4,500, up to $4,500 for that placement. depends on the acuity levels. It depends on the time of year they get it. If they get it before June, they get an additional amount, and then it kind of fades off towards the end of the summer. And this year we only have one client participating in School to Work from Mason County, and these are the 3 that provide that service.
Hey, Mark, how do you reach out to people in the community?
For School to Work?
Yeah.
So that typically happens through, so I have which is currently vacant, but it's being filled by Marcia, my fiscal person. So she goes out to all the school districts, to include the tribes, and lets them know what we're doing. And so we try to find clients that way, because we look at the special rec programs at each school. We try to have a really good relationship with them and get them involved there. We will also do a DVR or DDA app night to help facilitate clients becoming eligible for DDA, because we can't work with them until they're eligible through Developmental Disabilities Administration, and then we can help them through DVR as well. So we encourage it through advocacy at the schools, and then we also do these every quarter. Last year we were doing an app night to help facilitate people being applying through DDA. Did that help?
It did. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great. All right, and this is just about our last slide. So additional activities. So again, a high school transition fair, October 5th, and I'll get you the location and times today. Job Club. Job Club it's again to help facilitate clients learning about work. When we were in high school, and we really didn't have job clubs. We didn't. This allows the clients to talk among themselves and learn about their job, and so it's a club to talk about everything employment. And so we have this Morningside provides one, and I believe it's Arc of the Peninsula as well offers a job club. We also facilitate, recruit, train, and retain our providers. Our 5 providers, they have, like many industries, they have high turnover rates, and so we try to provide training to help them recruit and keep those good employees. A lot of times it comes down to money, and this really isn't an industry about money. It's about where your heart is and who do you want to help. And so that's where we focus a lot of that on. We provide conference stipends. So we have 2 big conferences each year. We have the Community Summit that is held in Wenatchee, and we were able to provide, I believe there was 10 scholarships for clients and their caregivers to go to the event. And then also our People First, which just happened, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, and that was, I think that was in Spokane or Ellensburg. And so those are our 2 big events, and we were able to sponsor 25 clients and their caregivers. Resource guide. We completed our resource guide last year, and we distributed it throughout the 2 counties. And that's a really large guide, and it has all of the resources that somebody in not only development of disabilities, but in a lot of different fields that can use it. So it covers employment, housing, healthcare, which local and state agencies to go to for different help. So that's a really good guide. DDA is always asking for more of those so they can pass them out to their clients. Technical assistance, getting a job for somebody with an intellectual or developmental disability isn't always clean cut. Sometimes there are challenges and hurdles that we have to get through, and our local providers don't always have that technical expertise. So we're able to work with WISE. That's who we will normally work with. WISE is the Washington Initiative for Support and Employment, and they have lots of experts that can come out, behavioral health experts, financial experts, fading. Right now, I am between Morningside and Career Quest. I'm supporting several hours of training on how to fade from a client. So a job coach may think they need to be there longer than they should be, but we want those clients to be as independent as possible. And then technology support. We've gone through some changes. DDA is always upgrading privacy issue or privacy regulations, and so each agency has to abide by that with their IT. So we do supply or provide that technology support as well, typically through WISE, because I'm not the technology expert. But that leaves me with, hopefully I got 90%. If not, please let me know what questions you have.
All right, commissioners, do you have any questions for Mark?
No questions. I guess just a quick comment, Mark. I think one of the things that I'm really interested in is seeing, kind of the Commissioner Trask question a little bit earlier is, how do we do outreach into the community to get as many people engaged with the programming that we offer as possible, or getting them connected to our partners. And I know there's probably some of that where you have to rely, whether it's on EFI or the ARC or others, to also do that outreach, but just making sure that we're maximizing the opportunities for people to get engaged in these programs, and like you said, have that real shot at independence. The other component is that I hear about often is transportation opportunities. So, be really interested in how we can work together to create more transportation options for people, not just for medical appointments or going to classes or anything like that, but also for some recreational opportunities and things along those lines. So those are some of the things that I'm interested in, but I appreciate the presentation today and hope we're now back on a more regular check-in program with you.
You bet. And I apologize for not getting back to you this past 3 years. And I was the incident commander for Thurston County's response to COVID. So I had a fill-in for the last couple of years. So now I'm back and I feel all brand new on this, even though I've been doing it for a while. So we'll get back to this. And is it yearly that you guys would like a briefing around this time, or what would you guys like?
I think that's fine, but if there are reports that you could at least send over quarterly that show what our budget position is, we don't have to drag you in front of the firing squad here every quarter. But if there's just a quick budget update or numbers of clients served and things like that on a quarterly basis, I think that'd be really helpful.
You bet.
I think yearly is good, but I think I would also like to hear if there's any, you've got 26 people instead of one, or your accomplishments. I would really like to know that our community is fully engaged and participating, and that you're reaching out regularly. Commissioner Netherland?
Yeah, Mark, as you know, there's always an issue with we may serve Mason County, but what do we actually do in the north? So eventually I would like to see some of that broke down. I don't have to do it here. You can send it to me in email. You bet.
Yeah, that your county is very diverse, and especially when you get to the northern part of Mason County, it's far from us, and so I'm looking at how we can partner with Kitsap County, and if that makes more sense, or what else we can do for the northern part. But yeah, thanks, Commissioner, for that reminder.
We do have Miranisco with his hand up.
Good morning. I just wanted to mention that I've been using this service through Career Quest for many years, and it's worked out very well for me. I believe I've had maybe 5 of their clients. 2 right now I've had for 2 or 3 years that come out to Bayshore and do some light maintenance work and parking lot cleaning and some stocking and stuff. And this works very well. And Career Quest just came to me maybe about 5 years ago and said, "Hey, you interested in doing this?" And I said, "Absolutely." So just saying it's a nice program, and it gets some people some training, and I've kept the people that have worked for me for many years. So just letting you know that.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eric.
That's awesome. All right, Mike, I only have one more request, and if you could send your PowerPoint to Mackenzie, and that way we can make sure that it's part of our disclosable documents.
Mackenzie.
Yeah, or you can send it to Mark.
Okay, yeah, I've been working with Mark, so I'm not sure that. So, and I'll send him the dates for the date for the resource fair as well, if you don't mind.
That's perfect.
Okay, great. All right.
All right. Thank you,
Let me know
Mark.
if there's anything else I can do for you guys. Thanks,
Okay, will
commissioners.
do. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, let's move on down. We're running a little bit behind. Sorry about that. To our state auditor. And I see Amy. And Tammy.
Like, I'm hoping Tammy and Fernando are here too. They've got the PowerPoints. So.
Okay, let me share my screen really quickly. Okay, has that shown up?
It has.
It has, thank you.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, thanks so much for the chance for us to be here today to share the results of the county's financial and federal audit. The accountability audit is still ongoing, so we'll share those results when we finish that one. My name is Amy Straka. I'm the audit manager for the Port Orchard audit team. And then with me today is Tammy Lane, who was the lead for this year's audit, and Fernando Ribeiro, who assisted on the audit. Before we get started, we do want to note that this presentation is an overall summary of the financial and federal audit results. We've also provided a packet of information that includes drafts of the audit reports that we're going to be issuing and some other more detailed information. So as we move through the presentation, we'll be referencing where you can find more information in your packet. Let's get started here. Whether you're new to the audit process or if you've been through lots of audits in the past, understanding the audit results is always very important to establishing and maintaining good government. This is true for a few different reasons. First of all, audits can really help build trust in your organization because they can let you know whether things are working or whether there's some areas that might need fine-tuning. And they can really shine a light on areas that are important to your citizens, to external stakeholders, and to your own employees. As most of you know, the State Auditor's Office is an independent organization. We audit all the state and local governments in Washington State and actually conduct over 2,600 audits every year. Our audit reports get published on our website and as such can be relied upon to provide transparent results directly to the citizens. And then lastly, a really important role of audits is their ability to identify areas where efficiency can be improved or where you can be more effective in complying with various requirements. And then on the flip side of that, they can also tell you where you're already working efficiently and effectively. So the goal of our presentation today is just to make sure you understand the results of your audit and answer any questions that you might have. So with that, I will turn it over to Tammy to talk about the financial audit.
Thank you, Amy. Our financial audit covers fiscal year 2022, so January 1st through December 31st. We issued an unmodified opinion. This is a clean audit opinion in accordance with regulatory basis of accounting or the BAR's manual. With this, there is in the report an adverse opinion on US GAAP that was issued. That is just standard information that's included with the report because the county is on a cash basis. Of course, our audit is conducted in accordance with government auditing standards. For internal control and compliance over financial reporting, we identified no significant deficiencies and no material weaknesses. We also noted no instances of noncompliance that were material to the financial statements of the county. So this is just supporting the clean audit opinion. Required communications to management and to the board. We did not identify any material misstatements during the audit, and the financial statements also have no uncorrected misstatements. And lastly, our audit does identify certain risks that we want to make sure that we take special consideration and review during our audit. And for the county's audit, this was the management override of controls. This is where we do some additional steps in assuring that there is no areas of issues in that control system. And we did not find any issues over this area. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it over to Fernando to cover the federal grant compliance part of our audit.
Thank you, Tammy. We also conducted a federal grant compliance or single audit for the period of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. The objective of this audit is to ascertain whether the county materially complied with the requirements of receiving federal funding. We are pleased to report that we are issuing an unmodified, clean audit opinion on the county's compliance with federal grant requirements. That is the opinion you want to receive and provides assurance that the funds were expended in accordance with their intended purpose and our requirements have been largely followed. Additionally, it is important to note that our audits are conducted in accordance with uniform guidance. Those standards also require that we gain an understanding of the county's internal controls or process that it goes through to ensure federal grant requirements are followed. We identified no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in grant compliance. We also did not know any instances of non-compliance that are required to be reported as audit findings. However, we did identify a concern related to federal procurement policy requirements that we'll be reporting as a management letter. We'll go over the federal procurement policy exception in detail after discussing the major federal programs audited. And for your reference, you may find this results detail on pages 13 through 16 of your packet. Next slide. In conducting our federal grant compliance audit, we selected enough federal grant programs for our audit to satisfy coverage requirements set by federal guidelines. In assessing this requirement, we identified the following specific programs for inclusion in our audit, which were the Community Development Block Grants States Program and Non-Entitlement Grants in Hawaii, the Highway Planning and Construction Cluster Grant, and the COVID-19 Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds Grant. These programs represented approximately 80% of the total federal expenditures for fiscal year 2022. I'll now turn it over to Tammy so she can go over the management letter for the exception found during our audit.
Thank you, Fernando. So we did issue a management letter, and this is over the procurement policy that the county does have. Uniform guidance requires that there needs to be specific details within the policy that outline when certain items are supposed to be followed when it's federal funding or when it's state funding or whether it's local funding. In our review, there were certain particular line items within the policy that didn't meet uniform guidance. So our recommendation is that the policy be updated to ensure that all employees and all commissioners understand what needs to be followed when single audit or grant funds are used. And so this is a letter that is going to be attached to the packet. It is also just referenced in the report. And so this will be on page 24 of the packet. In the packet, additionally, there is a summary schedule of prior audit findings. In our prior audit, we had an audit finding that covered the grant for specific for subrecipients requiring a clause that was needed. And on this, it was fully corrected, and the corrective action plan that is on this slide was included in our audit report. And before I hand it back over to Amy with some report publication information, I wanted to take this time to thank a few different departments that did help with getting through the audit really quickly. And that is at the treasurer's office, Lisa, Julie, and Heather worked really well with me to make sure that we had everything needed to ensure that we could complete the financial audit. From the health department, we worked with Casey, Todd, and Melissa. They helped us with 2 of the grants because we had 2 portions and then the CDBG funds that went through them, and they were able to get everything uploaded in a very timely fashion so that we could get this completed. With Public Works, we worked with Loretta, Richard, and Jessica, and they were great in making sure that we had a good understanding of our highway planning and construction, and also a lot of the expenditures that were with the ARPA funding. And of course, in the budget department, Jennifer and Kate were great in making sure that we had a space to work and we had all the information we needed for the ARPA funding. And then of course, in finance, there's Robin and Leo, who does a fantastic job at making sure that we have access to everybody we need and make sure he diligently works to make sure that the financial statements are accurately presented. So I wanted to make sure to thank them for all their hard work that they put in. And Amy, I will turn it over to you.
So as I mentioned previously, audit reports get published on our website. I would expect your report will publish on the 18th. Leo will get a notification when that publishes, so he'll know when that goes out. And at the same time that the report publishes, Leo will also get a link to an audit survey. You can forward that. Sounds like there was a lot of people that were part of this audit, so you're welcome to forward that survey to anyone who was involved in the audit and wants to provide feedback. We always really appreciate when people take the time to fill that out. We will also get an advanced copy of that report, and we'll use it to finish our side of the federal data collection form process. That's the form that needs to be submitted to the feds by September 30th. So as soon as we're done with our part, we'll notify Leo and he can go ahead and finish his part. So you should have no problem at all meeting that deadline. Before we wrap up, are there any questions from anyone?
No questions for me. I appreciate the information, and I know we have amazing staff, and they're always able and willing to step up and do what they can. Commissioners, any comments or questions?
And from me, thank you for the work that you did with our staff. We're very blessed to have the staff we do. We also know that you worked with them and found ways to bring solutions for any issues we have. So just know they've kept us up to date on that, and we very much appreciate all your work with it, and we appreciate all theirs for making it happen with you. Thank you.
All right. Well,
Thank you very much for having us.
Great. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
All righty. Well, we are now headed into the WSU extension.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kela here with Mason County Noxious Weed Control Program. We have a application for District 1 on the Mason County Noxious Weed Control Board. District 1 includes the Shelton area, west to Matlock, as well as south to the Thurston County boundary. The program received an application from Brandon Furr for District 1 appointment. And given that our board does not currently have a quorum, I'm hoping that the Board of County Commissioners can appoint this applicant temporarily in order to create a quorum on our Mason County Weed Board, in order to possibly permanently appoint, as well as just continue the board's operations. And that was advised via MRSC, which is the Municipal Research Service Center, as well as our legal deputy prosecuting attorney, to do a temporary appointment in order to achieve that quorum. So Brandon Furr's application is included as an attachment to this briefing. Brandon raises chickens, turkeys for meat, eggs to sell. He also sells hay and is working towards raising cows. So he meets the requirement of primary agricultural producer, which is wonderful. And then also he is a herbicide technician for the Department of Transportation here in Mason County. And is very familiar with the noxious weeds that we have in Mason County, how they spread, and I think we'll have really valuable information for our board, and it'll be great to be able to work together and then also have his valuable input. And he obtained all 10 signatures, hooray. And yeah, if you have any questions regarding the application or the board itself, we still do have 2 vacancies on our board for District 4 and 5, both being in North Mason County, and continuing to spread the word. It does seem that on the ground, in-person communications are the best way to obtain, or obtain interest from folks for the board. So we're hoping that as our program kind of continues to make contact with folks in those areas, we'll garner some interest for board members.
Is there anything missing on this application that would preclude us from just going ahead and appointing tomorrow?
At this point, this application is complete. All those signatures were confirmed to be residents of District 1, and there is nothing that needs to be included. So it is good to go for temporary appointment if you'd like to move it tomorrow.
You're saying temporary appointment. Is there a reason it has to be temporary? That's my question, because
I see.
We're meeting tomorrow. I personally reading their application, they're well qualified. It makes a lot of sense. Normally we like to interview, but we don't have to. So is there anything that would stop us from just fully appointing this person for the term?
So the RCW 1710, which is the Washington State Noxious Weed Control Board, kind of how those boards are created and appointed. In theory, it's the board itself, the Mason County Noxious Weed Control Board, who does the appointing and then asks the county commissioners for final approval. So this one is a little bit wonky. We're doing it in a way that we're asking temporary appointment to be able to have a Mason County Weed Board meeting in order to, as with quorum, ask the county commissioners to permanently appoint.
Yeah, except
So
for you
it's
don't
kind
have
of complicated. I know it's extra steps that don't seem
well,
necessary, but
you don't have a quorum unless we appoint. So
this is true.
I think we appoint, and then you can go ahead and just agree to take it if the other commissioners are willing to just do that. It makes no sense to do it to appoint them twice from us.
Yeah, I think oh, Commissioner Schutte, go ahead.
Oh, I think, whatever the law says, I guess this is one of those weird boards where we have to follow like a different procedure, but I see no reason why I wouldn't appoint Brandon to this position. He meets the scrutiny that is in the RCW. So if we do have the ability to kind of reverse the process and just get our appointment out of the way and get concurrence from the full board, I'd be down with that. But if we do have to do it twice just to satisfy the RCW, then that's what we'll have to do, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. If let's get Brandon on there, and then if you have to bring him back, because that makes the board complete, bring him back for permanent instead of temporary, that would be fine.
Okay.
But he meets all the qualifications. Gosh, you don't get a DOT herbicide technician very often, so I think that's cool.
Yeah. Well, I'll look into it and confirm if we can go ahead with permanent appointment. My understanding of the RCW is that it's a recommendation from the Mason County Weed Board to the Board of County Commissioners, and because of the lack of quorum, we're kind of skipping that step for temporary appointment to go back to be permanently appointed. But I would obviously love to just go ahead and have a permanent appointment. So I will confirm that. But in terms of just initial appointment, if you are willing to do so tomorrow, that would be wonderful. And I can talk to Mackenzie to confirm an action agenda item.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kela. All right, let's move on to the sheriff's office. Do we have them? I don't see them on here. Oh, they're in the room.
Oh,
Yeah, we had anticipated that you were coming over here. We had some stuff to show you and we thought that you were joining us. Is that not happening?
Well, you can get 2 of us in the room.
Yeah, we knew that Commissioner Schutte was gonna be gone.
Right, and then we can still have the Zoom going, right?
Yeah, I believe so. It's right there on the table. We've got something over here nodding his head. It's got all the buttons and stuff, so he's good with it.
All right, well, I'll be joining you, Commissioner Netherland.
yeah, take a 5-minute break as we reassemble in there perhaps.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Commissioner Schutte, you'll remain on Zoom.
Yep, don't have too much fun without me.
I had heard that we were going to use you as a target, so.
That's why I'm in my secure undisclosed location.
All right, see you in 5 minutes.
Where are you guys gonna do this and see it? You got that? Where are you guys gonna do this? Oh, we're just gonna sit right here. Yeah. I've asked, I'll be sitting right there. I got a face made for radio, so it doesn't have to be on there. This is for what happens. This is not. It's not that's go on there. You know, we're not moving. What happened? Except for the stuff we want to hide. I thought that you really wanted it over here.
Well, you know, I spaced it.
Oh. It's easy to fix.
Yeah, this is nice. Back in the corner.
Jason, where he should be. Where he likes to be. Me too, actually.
All right, take her away.
We back on? Nope. She's helping us out.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now we're back on. Can you guys hear us? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Make sure Commissioner Schutte's back with us.
We can hear you.
All right.
Commissioner
Schutte,
Schutte, are you
with
back?
us?
We may need another minute. Me and Tracy's are.
I know.
I was gonna say, already has questions, so we didn't even start.
Right? Just soon as Commissioner Schutte shows his face or gives us a thumbs up, we'll go ahead. All right. There's his face. All right, take her away.
All right, commissioners, thanks for meeting with us today. Usually we try to condense our briefings to make it a little easier because we've always got stuff going on. There's some stuff that we can push off to next year's budget, which we are happy to do, but there are some things that come up during the year that obviously we want to address during the year as it's going on. Obviously, we have some contract things in there that you saw that we're going to address with you. We try to figure out what's going on with the contracts before we do our next budget, but unfortunately sometimes we don't have those numbers available to us, so we have to come back later in the year. We've got an item or two of officer safety issues, tools that we think would help our deputies out on the street. I don't really want to wait till the next contract or the next budget year to talk about tools for officer safety, so we're going to bring those up. And then we've got one or two items that will protect some assets that we've already paid for the county. We just think it'd be a good idea to get on it sooner rather than later. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. The first thing that I wanted to bring up, and the reason why I want to bring you in here, is because we wanted to talk to you about getting a couple tactical drones for our SWAT team, which are pretty important officer safety tools to be able to look for folks inside the house and keep our folks safe. So we actually had Joe Schmidt come down from Brink to bring one of the drones with him so you guys could actually see what that item looked like, and we have Deputy Taylor here to briefly just explain to you what the item would be used for. He's on the SWAT team and can describe why the tool would be important to them. So I don't know if Joe, you want to grab the drone so they can take a look at it while.
So this is the Lemur 2 drone system. It is primarily built for interior applications. Undersheriff Adam said, flying indoors, identifying where someone might be, and then establishing communication with that person.
Okay.
So Charles, you want to tell them kind of what the team would use this for SWAT team patrol applications?
From its inception, it's purpose-built to fly interior structures or collapse structures, as the case may be. A recent scenario that we had down on Railroad was a SWAT call where we deployed one of our own consumer-grade drones to attempt to enter the building, and it tried to go in, hit the door frame, and ended up crashing the floor, so we got no intelligence from the inside of the structure. The result of that was to call in an outside agency to bring their drone pilot in with their drone. Well, they brought out this big, massive, extremely capable drone, but obviously can't fly interior as capable as it is. This guy fills the niche between the two worlds. It's rough use, it's designed to crash, right itself, and continue on with its mission. With regard to the information that it sends back to the user, me, it provides me time, distance, and shielding. So I can sit back in the armor, launch this drone, send it into the house, and it'll actually map out a floor plan wherever it's flying and send that back to me and my team. That way my team has an idea of what that floor plan looks like. It turns the unknown into known. And in locating suspects, it's essentially a flying cell phone, so I can call that and hand my phone to my negotiator and negotiate with that suspect in order to minimize harm or loss of life and de-escalate the situation.
Oh, that's cool.
So it keeps us safe and clears the building before we introduce humans into that scenario.
Can you explain the video and audio on there?
Yeah, the video, it's basically a two-way cell phone, so you have two-way communications. The minute I call that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, I call that like I would call anybody else's phone, and it picks my voice up on loudspeaker, and I can also pick them up on mic, so I have direct communication between me or a negotiator to the subject or suspect inside.
And then another valuable trait of that is that it can do passive audio, so you can move it into an area so that it can sit there, surveil an area while it's listening, so that our team can move safely into an area and know that that area is still clear and safe for them to move into. So it provides a whole lot of front-end surveillance to allow our people to know when they can move into an area safely and more quickly determine where a suspect might be. And SWAT callouts and protracted patrol callouts are very expensive. The more time that we have a lot of personnel on scene, that costs us a lot of money. And quite honestly, the faster that we can resolve those, the more money that we save over time. So I honestly think that probably this type of tool saves us money in the long term because we can resolve incidents much more quickly than we might otherwise with just straight personnel.
So what's the noise level on that? Some drones are really loud.
It's loud. It's not quiet at all.
We're gonna fly it in here. We can take it off in here. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's really loud though.
Is it?
It's pretty loud. I mean, you know.
So one of the features of it is that as soon as you insert that battery, it begins collecting data through LiDAR sensors, and it'll map out this entire room and any object that's sitting in here. Through FLIR, the thermal camera, it'll pick up people hiding. You can pick up people behind the door just by looking under the door crack for heat signatures and things of that nature. But I'll turn it over to Joe.
Yeah, we certainly don't have the world's quietest drone, but when it's in, it's kind of stealth mode, just sitting, perched, it's near silent, and at that point it can sit for up to 10 hours collecting audio, video, just kind of a static camera system, and then you can move it around, fly it around when you'd like to.
So what's the battery life if it's moving?
If it's flying, it's about 20 minutes. Sometimes depends on if you're fighting through, wind to fly from a vehicle into the house, but about 20 minutes.
So if you have a heavy wind day, how does it respond?
It'll hold its position outside in up to 20 mile per hour winds, and then the minute that you get inside, it's obviously a bit more stable, and it's, the battery life is going to be go a lot longer in those scenarios.
So before you do the takeoff on that, on this one, to me, it's a no-brainer for me. I don't have an issue with it. I have more questions about the contracts and what they are, and the different scenarios between, I think there was 3 different contracts. Just the way it was set up, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, and I can explain those to you.
But with these contracts, I want to know how many batteries. That's why I'm qualifying what I'm saying. Does it come with 2 batteries, 3 batteries?
It starts with 4, but the honest answer is it's as many as you need to be operational.
Okay.
So it starts with 4, and then if you needed 10 more to be up, then we just send those out. We probably stagger them, like get one every week, just because it takes a while for us to produce them, but it's whatever you need to be operational.
Thank you.
And
Go ahead, sorry.
You're out of Seattle, right?
Yes, Seattle is where our headquarters is. Everything, engineering, R&D, all manufacturing is done in Seattle.
Also, second says air conditioner.
It feels good, actually.
So the screen is there?
Correct. So right here, it's a 4K camera. We have a gimbal on it so you can look straight up. Where that's beneficial is attics. If folks are up in attics, it's hard to fly straight up, so just look up, ascend the drone, and then level off. You can also look straight down if someone's hiding behind furniture, if you want to look behind a bed, you can do that. And then thermal is just a little window we have dropped down here, just gives you, you can see body heat in a normal structure. Because flying indoors, the lights aren't always on, we have lights fixated on the front of the gimbal. There's a white light, I won't try to shine in anyone's eyes, but there's a white light, and then there's a blue light as well. And just makes it a lot easier to fly through dark rooms, and then you can strobe those as well. In the event that someone's coming to hurt the drone or attack the drone, you can strobe and just back the drone off a little bit. And like in this form right here, the way it's in its sentry mode, it's gonna sit for 10 hours before the battery dies.
So you can bring it in, land it, and still continue to use it.
Yeah.
And same principle, if you have 2 drones, they work off of a mesh network. So say for instance a school, you send your first drone in and you start losing signal, you can actually land that drone at its furthest point, send in your second drone, and it meshes off of that drone signal and can carry on further in the building or the structure, as the case may be. Yeah, they're very beneficial in that regard in search and rescue, SWAT, and hazmat, for that matter.
And that's why we picked the pricing plan that we did specifically. One drone was 17,000, I believe. For 2 drones, it's only 2,000 more. It's 19,000. If you do the annual plan where you pay that each year, basically that covers whatever you do to the drone. So if you damage it, you break it, if you hurt it on a mission, if you take it in training and it needs to be fixed or replaced, that's all covered in that annual cost. So essentially you would have 2 drones that are going to have continual replacement or repair. Because Brink's right out of Seattle, they're right there. It's pretty quick for us to get replacement or repairs if we need to. And at the end of the 3rd year, with that pricing plan, you also get the next model of drones. So you would get 2 more drones, plus get to keep the 2 that you had before. So while there is a continuing cost to it, it's of significant value because they're encouraging you to use it as often as you can for both training, so that you have the experience to use it, and then in practical.
So what you presented us was actually a 3-year roll-up. That's why it was 59,000 and stuff. Because that's what I was saying. I had an issue with reading how your plan was set up.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that. So 20K a year, which is what you and I had talked about. There was about 19. The question was whether to get one or get it set up, I guess, or do an ongoing was the.
Yes, and that's why we're recommending that plan, because we're not having to pay for repairs. We're not having to have that delay. We're going to continuously have 2 that are operational. It encourages our folks to use them in training. The inclination is generally, if you don't want to damage it, then you don't use it in training because you want to have it operational, but then you're not as proficient as you should be when you're using it in actual operations. This particular plan allows them to continually use it, to continually practice with it, knowing that those repairs and replacements are part of the annual cost. So that's it. We're bringing it before you. We just wanted you to be able to see it and hear from one of our guys how they would actually use it and get an idea. So,
Kevin,
Commissioner Schutte, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not.
So my question then would be, are you looking to fund this today to have us get it on an agenda, or what are we asking today? Is this just informational? Let me tell you where I'm at on it. To me, it's a no-brainer for many different reasons. One, we have animals, even though we never want anything to ever happen to an animal, you can't get away from the fact that that's an extension of a human being to keep the human being from getting hurt. Anything else, this is just another extension that can be out there to keep the animal from getting hurt, the human being from getting hurt, and to give information we can't have. Now, I do have a worry, the same worry that the community will have when it comes to their rights. And eventually I would like to see something brought forward in the form of a protection that it won't be used for just passive, enjoyment, flying it over the community to listen or anything like that. I want it to have purpose.
Well, we're going to be talking to you about a couple other drones that work in conjunction with our Pharaoh, which that would certainly be much more of a concern with. This one is specifically for barricaded warrant subjects, people that we actually have warrants to go in and search the premises.
You'll be using it for a lot more than that after you get to doing it.
Um,
Somebody's going to have fun with it. First of all, the first thing they're going to say is, I'm getting the drone. That's what's going to happen.
Well, I think that's going to be a concern with the other ones that we'll talk to you about. This one is designed and purpose-built for that interior work. So, but I certainly understand what you're talking about.
And I don't know where I found on the other ones. I just know on this one, this is the outreach, the thing that can protect to make sure we have a deputy that gets home.
So I guess the question
or
is
somebody else that doesn't get hurt because we find out we have somebody else in the woods that's not part of the situation.
Right.
So this is a no-brainer one in my opinion.
Well, and Charles is one of our canine handlers as well, so he certainly appreciates your concern for our dogs, because that is what we that is what we use our dogs for a lot of times, to do that same work. So it will be safety for them as well. What is your preference? Do you want to go through our list of stuff before you make decisions?
If we can go one at a time, that's easier to make a decision on.
I'd like to, because I'd like to try and move forward on this one.
Kevin, you good with it going forward for Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah.
All right, as am I.
So the question would be which plan? Because there was the 1 year and then there was the 3-year where it's replaced, service for the 3 years, and we're guaranteed to have 2 up and going at all times with another round of them coming on the 3rd year. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
And the total cost would be 60,000 over the 3 years. So 20,000 into this budget that we'd have to add into this budget for supplemental by the end.
Yeah. Would it be 20,000?
Are you guys paying up front, or are you paying per year?
I think we pay for the first year, and then it will just be annually after that, correct?
Do we get a discount if we paid all in 1 year?
They could give you a slight discount, I believe. They can work with, you can pay a minimum amount up front as well and then push it to the back.
Tell them we want a 15% discount for a full 3 years.
I'll do the 5%.
Yeah. Okay, then 10. We'll meet in the middle at 10 and we're all happy.
I wish I was authorized to make
Good answer.
So I think
Yeah.
we're in favor of, Kevin, were you in favor of the 3, or does it make a difference to you?
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
Okay.
That's fine with me.
Let's put it on the
3 year?
agenda.
Okay.
Well, do we want to put it on the agenda for tomorrow, because we don't have the amount unless you can give us the amount with the discount?
I could get it done by
soon.
tomorrow.
Well, let's see, if we put it on the agenda for tomorrow, we'll need the amount before 9 a.m.
Let's see, I can get it by the end of the day.
Then let's
Okay.
go ahead and do that. And
Yeah, I would tell them that's easy.
if you give me the 10, I'm 100% for a 3 year up front.
We'll see.
Wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to move on?
You're asking for more money on another smaller one here coming up, aren't you?
Yes, we are. Yes. All right, so I also put in a briefing document that has 3 items on there. It was supposed to have 4, and then I didn't have the information soon enough, and then I got the information, so I actually added it. That's the other 2 drones I was talking about. So I'll talk about the creative office. And so on the briefing document that we have from Creative Office, one of the items was for wheeled chairs for our training room. And honestly, it's mainly because we bought folding chairs to put in there, but we paid a lot of money to have a really nice floor put in there, and those folding chairs are starting to damage the floor. And so we wanted to get chairs that actually have wheels and roll, and they're designed to protect that floor so that we protect the investment we already made on it. So that was our reason for putting that in. We didn't know it was damaging the floor until we started mopping it up and paying attention. So and then the other thing that we asked for in that request were for some new desk frames. We just moved our office all around, and we had the creative office people come in and give us some suggestions on workspace and how to set it up, and gave us a quote on the desks that go up and down, which would be very beneficial for our office staff that are in there every day pecking away on those computers and can't get away from them, give them the ability to stand up, sit down, whatever they decide to do. So
Does Creative, do they come in and do the ergonomic evaluation too?
Yes. Yeah, they actually sent a rep down and talked to us about the workspace, and that's why the one wall was put in there. They made that recommendation for the sound barrier and how that would work in there. And then also their stuff is actually warranted for a certain amount of time, so if we have a problem with the chairs, they'll replace them or repair them, those kind of things. So the other thing that we had on there was a steel cover for the new Teradyne. I think we probably should have talked about that before, but the fact of the matter is, if we're gonna spend $400,000 on an armored vehicle, we probably need to have it covered while we have it parked, and so.
Where would it be parked?
Well, we're still not sure if that's gonna be at our office, or we were gonna talk to Loretta about some potential space up at her area up there, because we've had our armored vehicle up there for years now as it is. But the cover that we were using for our current armored vehicle, they took back for stuff that they have up there that they needed to protect as well. So we haven't had that conversation with them yet, but it's a fairly small purchase. But
when's delivery of the Teradyne?
Definitely getting close. So they send us pictures for updates. We try to forward them on when we get them. Right now, I think we're looking at probably the end of this month to get it done and get it on a truck, and then probably the beginning of October sometime. So it's coming right up.
And the cost for the cover again was?
It was only about $5,000 for delivery, and
Instead of
I don't know about setup. I just did some rough calculation on it.
So Commissioner, personally, as for some of the other stuff, I think now wouldn't be the right time to ask for. I think that should be a budget item. I won't vote against it if the other commissioners do. I just think that should be a budget item and should be looked at most likely as part of the maintenance budget. Or either that or you can pay for it out of your own budget. You have the ability to extend 50,000 as we've talked about before. As for the other one and the cover for it, that's different. I think that we want to protect it from the day we get it landing on the ground. So it would make sense to expend the 5,000 out of our facilities, and there is still the ability to house it up in North Mason as well, because that should be getting a fence here shortly also.
The only concern that we had with up in the North Mason County is it's not very centrally located. So we're trying to be as centrally located so we have an equal response time to most stuff. And we're still going to have the other armored vehicle at the north end for the immediate response.
Like I said, don't need it. I just saying
that it's
be available. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's where my 2 cents is on it. It's not that I'm against it. I just think some things like this belong in the budget and through the budget discussions.
Yep, and that's why I brought it up as, the options of which way to do it. I am concerned about the floor, but.
Just have people sit on the floor.
I know. Yoga. That's right, yoga.
Yeah, Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I'd be interested in having the furniture conversation, maybe get a little bit bigger scale and see if there's some economy of scale for other offices that might be interested in changing out some of their furniture. I think having access to ergonomically sound office equipment is a good thing. So for that reason, I'd be okay holding off on that. And then the other part of that too is I think there might be some things that we can do in the interim to maybe put some padding or something on the folding chairs, the legs of the folding chairs, to get us through the decision-making process here, so that the floor isn't all torn up. And then I'm fine with the covering.
Yeah, we did try to go the cheap and easy route and buy all the cool little
feet put on the chairs, but
off and don't. I mean, it didn't work very well.
Unfortunately, that didn't work.
Are you trying getting the socks for them?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure you understand. Different departments that are going to want furniture and stuff too. As he just mentioned.
If we can do more ergonomic.
We need to have at least everybody look at it and treat everybody equally on that one.
Yeah, I was just concerned. We spent, what was it, 15, 20 grand on that floor, and now if we're starting to scrape it up, that we probably don't want to do that for too long, but it will certainly wait a little while longer if that's what we want to do.
So I think, so we all agreed that the cover for the Teradyne should go forward, right?
Yep.
And then hold off on the furniture.
So the other item on this particular briefing was the Faro scanner. I don't know if you're familiar with the Faro scanner. We have a Faro scanner now, which we have had for many years. Not unlike other technologies, they get old, they stop working real well, and they get out of date with the new equipment. So
can you tell us? I know, but can you tell us what the Faro scanner does?
Yes, you bet. So not only will I tell you that, but I'll tell you what the new one does, which is equally impressive. So what the Faro scanner does is it's used at different types of crime scenes in order to very, very accurately document a crime scene. So it provides us 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional renderings of crime scenes. So we use it for complicated accident scenes, for homicide investigations, for anything that needs a highly detailed and accurate rendering of that crime scene for evidentiary purposes to use in court. So the current one that we have, one is outdated, and I don't believe that the software is even updating on it now because they're in new models and generations of it. The new one is, it does all those things. It does the crime scene and mapping and all those things. It does it a lot faster. It does it with fewer points. The other thing that it does that the others don't is that it was designed so that you could use it to do pre-planning for schools, government buildings, and those kind of things by very quickly doing accurate renderings inside those buildings. So what would take the old scanner a significant amount of time, I forgot what the instructor told me, but it takes a long time. It would take you a significant part, it would probably take you a day or more to do a building. He could drop that in this room and render this room for the purposes of doing floor plans in about 90 seconds. So he can move through a building, hit each part of the building 90 seconds at a time, and give you great renderings of those buildings so that we could have pre-planned responses for our patrol folks and our tactical folks if an incident ever came up. The thing that we find for a lot of schools and a lot of buildings is that we've got great floor plans for the day that it was built, and nothing on the inside looks like the day it was built. And so it makes it very hard to respond to those types of incidences. And the other nice thing about the new Pharaoh is, again, like I talked about with the drone, the faster that it is, the more money that it saves you in the long run. Crime scenes are very, very time intensive as far as investigations and documenting crime scenes. The Pharaoh scanner, I honestly believe, pays for itself pretty quickly in the amount of time that it prevents officers having to be on scene and spend a lot of time documenting those things. The other thing that went along with the Pharaoh, which I wanted to include, was talk about those 2 drones that I was talking about, which was the other part of the purchase. The drones actually communicate with and work in conjunction with the software for the Pharaoh, which allows you to do larger areas outside crime scenes. So not only does the Pharaoh do all the details on the inside, but then it works in connection, can run grids and give you really detailed renderings of crime scenes in a bigger area. And again, it really saves us a lot of time. And those are dual purpose drones. They can be used for search and rescue and any other purpose that's for outdoors and looking for things out there. The problem with our own drones, which we have had, is that the FAA, like government likes to do, changed the rules again this year and required different types of chips inside, different types of lights, those kind of things. And our old drones we cannot retrofit to make compliant. And so the new drones that we gave you the briefing on are designed specifically to work with the software of the Pharaoh and provide those other services for our folks.
If I can add in there too, do you remember the train collision in Nisqually, where the train came off and people were killed? That entire scene was mapped with these drones, and it was able to fly underneath the overpass, and it gave a 360-degree, 3-dimensional rendering of the entire thing for liability, for engineering, for all the lawsuits, all the different things. And when we, as a county, deal with a serious collision, in conjunction with the drones, you can fly over and map the entire scene, and it protects public works and other things as well, or it gives an accurate rendering for the investigation later on, which is really important for collision investigation and liability as well. Not only crime scenes, but as the Undersheriff said, I just wanted to emphasize the collision investigation part because I've done a lot of that.
Yeah, and again, this was one I brought forward now because obviously our old drones are no longer legal, and plus the Pharaoh system is just super important for our investigators so that they can do really accurate crime scene investigations. And so,
total cost again? I didn't bring it in the room with me. Usually I remember that stuff, but.
Yeah, so the Pharaoh itself was $63,604.70. And then the 2 drones were actually relatively inexpensive. They were $5,500, and that's for 2 drones and for accessories.
$70K.
Yeah, overall for those 2.
So for me, the question is, because I can see the merit for it and the reason for it. That does bother me. I'm trying to be fair with everybody. My question becomes, is it appropriate to do now or to wait through the process as a one-time expenditure? Because there's going to be other asks and stuff too, and we have to weigh everything out. When we do things too early, then we take away from anybody else's ability to negotiate the dollars that we have available. That's all I'm looking at. But I do understand, I do hear you when you say we have a failure at this point.
Yeah, and if our old Faro system's not working, then if we have a homicide investigation, if we have some other major events, we either have to expend all the resources to hold the crime scene until we can bring in another agency or another crime lab that can do that investigation, or we've got to do it the old school way with photos and tape measures, and that's really not.
Now you say if it's not working, is it working now or is it not working now?
I think there was a problem. Do you remember there's an issue with the software where the software doesn't update now, and so
Storage issue, I think.
What's that?
No, some storage was software.
It was a software issue with it. It's the technology's just too old. It's not. It's not updating.
It's not updating, but is it still working?
Well, it's working, but it's not transferring to the software data, the data over to the software the right way. So I think that's where the problem is.
Yeah,
then it won't hold up in court.
Well, it doesn't communicate with the new software.
No, yeah.
So you have the software and it doesn't communicate with it. And
There's a bunch of zeros and ones and they make no sense.
Yeah, that's a weakness for trying to prove everything. I'm curious what Kevin's thinking.
On the software issue, is there anything contractual that, like for updates or like ongoing expenses that we've missed, or?
No, we didn't have that product under a maintenance program.
Can you hear him okay?
No,
Yeah, they said they did not have that original program under the maintenance contract.
Gotcha. Is there something that we would need to run through IT steering committee with on that, or?
I think you said you ran through, didn't you run through
No, it's the other
that one? Oh, it's the other one.
I'm here. I don't believe that there's anything particular to IT on it because it runs on a separate computer that we have.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the Faro is actually running with a laptop that we have that the two systems are designed to work together.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So Jennifer, can you?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, is there any place that that the sheriff's office hasn't used 70,000 that we could use?
Yeah, I mean, they probably in salary savings, but if the contract settles, that could be used up. But I'm also briefing the LATCF funds during my briefing time today. So we could use that or, purchase those things out of the LATCF funds.
You think it isn't allowed? Just how much money is in there?
There's $795,000 and some odd dollars and change, and yes, allowable. Anything but lobbying services is allowable under the LATCF funds.
Well, because we have a communication issue and it's a failure at this point, and we have the ability to fund it,
Yeah, I would like to move forward with it if we have the money in that. That's the .09, right?
This is a separate form of ARPA funding that came through the Treasury funding source.
Right.
And I would prefer that we spend that as quickly as possible, just because we have to report on it every year until it's spent. So, purely selfish reasons for me to want to spend it, but it's just one less thing to keep in our cash, I guess, and report on every year.
I would support going through. Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable that, we're not gonna have other demands for that money, or this is, other demands for that money prior to getting into the budget season, then I would be supportive of that. I think, that makes sense. It's a good tool to have. I've actually seen it be used, and it's very helpful. So it's not a matter of being supportive of that or not. It's just, this is the best fund to pull it out of to get that done. Then I'm good with that.
Can you wait for, or do you need it tomorrow?
No, we can wait for the 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think you got through?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next item we'll talk to you about, and again, this is one of those things where we can do it now, or we could do it, what?
Now you're pushing.
Hey, you know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? I mean, that's just the way it works. So one of the things that we're always trying to do is look at things that will be force multipliers for our patrol folks, because there's just not enough of them out there, and they've got a ton of calls coming in. And honestly, I think this was something that would be fantastic for the public as well, because we've talked about it for quite a while, and it's an online reporting system. So it allows citizens to actually report things through a portal on the website, and that portal connects with our RMS system and allows them to do that in a way that makes it so our deputies don't have to focus on some of those lower priority calls. A lot of people are calling in to report things because they need to have a case number for their insurance purposes. They don't really need to talk to a deputy. A deputy really doesn't need to be pulled in off the street to handle those, but they still have to, because it takes time, and the citizens need that case number. So we've done quite a bit of research. There's really not many options out there for effective online reporting, especially for ones that will work with our RMS system currently. This one does, LexisNexis from CopLogic. We're throwing out there that if we could get it, that would be great. It would make it so our deputies don't have to handle a lot of those lower priority calls, and prioritize their time dealing with things that they're, you know, highly trained to do.
So is this something that you could work through a partnership like with MACECOM, or even the city? If the city, I mean, if you have 3 different departments, so to speak.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. I didn't approach them about cost sharing. I think that they, it would just up the price, because they do it by the number of, I think they do it by the number of citizens. Number of citizens or number of officers in the department. I can't remember. It's one of the two, but it would just increase the price for that sharing. But the side benefit, the fringe benefit to it is it would save dispatch time, and it would save dispatch phone calls, because they don't need to call into dispatch and provide them all that information and have them take it all down and then dispatch it to a deputy and have a deputy call. And it just kind of takes that entire process out and allows them to do it online, get the information they need. It's pretty clear in the beginning of it, if it's this type of call, you need to call 911. If it's these types of calls, you can report that here, and has fields that they need to fill out, and then that gets sucked right into our RMS system and allows them to get the information they need, and then we have a record of it as well. So it encourages more reporting, which is always a good thing for our statistics. So it's a good thing all the way around. Saves our folks a lot of time, good for the citizens. And
I can see it as a valuable tool, but at the same time, I think personally it's a budget discussion. That's just my opinion. I'm not going to stand against it if the other commissioners want to move forward with it now, but it appears that it would, to me, that this would be a standard budget discussion.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's a valuable tool, but I think it's also worth discussing in the context of the budget. I also think that there would have to be some plan associated with it for public awareness, so that they're using it the right way. I don't know. I'm sure you've all thought about these things, but I'm also thinking about if somebody uses it and it's not real clear that, you know, perhaps it's something that should have been a call into MACECOM and they still did it on the app, what the potential risks associated with that are. And, you know, so I mean, there's just some things that I think probably merit some further discussion, or at least with me. I'm sure like I said, I'm sure you've all thought about all the different angles, and this is something that's in practice in other places, and there's some good, you know, there's some good data that goes along with it. But for me, I think it needs a little bit more discussion, and I think it would be appropriate for the budget.
Appropriate to run through risk pool.
yeah, we're happy to move it to the budget discussions. Don't have any problem with that. We've talked to numerous different agencies out there, both our size, much larger, smaller. How they implemented it, we have access to the pages that they use to inform their citizens and how they did all that. So yeah, we've done a lot of research on how it's been done in a whole bunch of different other places. So I'm not concerned that the procedure side of it is a real concern. Probably more of an education for everybody involved.
Okay, so budget.
Yep, no problem. I can do that. This one we're bringing forward because it has to do with the taser contract that we have had for 5 years now. Unfortunately, the 5 years is coming to a close, and they did not have numbers for us. However, the contract is up here in November, so we needed to get it in front of you to talk about whether or not we're going to continue this contract over another 5 years. The price has gone up, as I think you saw in the briefings.
Substantially, yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit. But it does the same thing as what the previous contract did. It will provide us fully upgraded to the new Taser 10 system, which is out, which is a vastly superior product to what we purchased before. And then, of course, all of the support services, the evidence side of the Taser system, the batteries and downloading and all the other things that came along with that previous contract. So it's been a successful program, very successful for us so far. We always had problems in the past with just having enough tasers on hand so that everybody could have one, but if one goes down, then we have 6 weeks wait while we send it off and have them send back another, and then we have to buy the new
Came
one.
from a time where they didn't have enough batteries to do them.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly
I remember.
right. Yeah, so, yes, the price has gone up, as the price has gone up for absolutely everything, but, you know, we're hopeful that the commission wants to continue that program.
Personally, I believe that this is an early discussion again for budget, because we're gonna be doing budget. I understand that it ends in November, but we can move things over into maintenance and operation in the early stages of budget. If the commissions decide to do it at that point, then that tells you you're gonna be doing another contract, and it just moves into the maintenance and operation level. It's not something that's discussed later as a policy request.
I was just concerned with not getting the contract signed in time in order to not expire on the contract and then being out of contract.
We'll be having meetings in October, right?
I believe so. Jen, do you have the calendar? I think our meetings start in October, don't they?
Yes, I'll be briefing you on that later on today as well. So we can figure out the schedule on the briefings for budget. And I'm out October 2nd is the only day that I didn't want to put on the calendar. And then I worked around you commissioners when you were going to be gone as well for that calendar.
Thank you.
And you know, as you've seen in the past, we do more than take one bite out of an apple when we're working through the process. But I think this is an opportunity to have that discussions on the whole of the budget and your request, and then most likely it'll move over to maintenance and operation, how we've done it in the past. And that tells you right there that you're being budgeted for it to move forward, then we get it on the agenda if that's what the commission decides. That's just my 2 cents, so I don't know what the other ones think.
Now, Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think the reality of it is we're not going to go away from our taser program. You know, and I whether we do it today or we wait until October, I mean, I'm supportive of it. I think it's a necessary tool to have, and we're going to have to pay for it one way or another. And I you know, if there's additional detail or whatever that you need from the vendor in order to put together what that extension is going to look like, then that's fine. But I'm supportive of renewing the contract in November.
Yeah, as am I. I think whatever works best for our budget manager. Put her on the line.
I'm sorry, we treated this as maintenance in the past. And
Yeah,
right.
That's why I was saying
the
that.
reality of it is like that's, you know, so I mean that I don't see an issue. Particular item forward now.
Yeah, I would support moving it forward now.
Okay. So not moving this one to budget, just going ahead now, is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
we're gonna keep the tasers.
Okay.
So.
perfect, all right. So commissioners, I have basically used up all my words for an entire week in this one meeting, but we do have one other thing. It's actually a jail thing, so I'm gonna have Chief Hansen brief on it. He knows more about it than I do anyway, so much easier if he doesn't.
Can't imagine you running out of words though.
Morning, Commissioners. This is
Morning.
not nearly as exciting as tasers and drones and all that. It's about humane food. this last February, and it's taken me several months to get a draft revised contract from the vendor, but I do have one now. It comes with an increase, obviously, to the price of food. And so the price per meal goes from $3.62 to $4.23 per meal, which is about a 17% increase. They haven't increased this meal rates for 2 years prior to 2023. So we're asking the commission to renew the contract and do that today instead of waiting until budget, because we're on an expired contract.
Are there other vendors that provide that, or are they the only ones that?
No, there's lots of other vendors.
Are there?
Yeah. Well, not lots, but there are other vendors.
So I'm wondering if this is one thing that we should, do we have to do an RFP for this?
You don't have to, it's a contract renewal.
Yeah.
You're saying the verbiage in there that allows for contract renewal with increases in costs? That's actually in the contract, where they'll say, so you can renew it for another 3 years, another 2 years?
Yep. Yep, the contract allows for either party to reopen the contract and renegotiate rates.
Yeah,
But I'm wondering.
that doesn't mean that we're not supposed to go out though.
Right, that's my
No, it says that
concern.
we have to go out.
Well, I meant the state law.
Oh, no, as long as it's an existing contract, we don't have to go back out to bid. We've renewed this one, I don't know, 3 times already.
And I think that's my concern is renewing over and over and over and not giving other entities an opportunity to bid. That's my only concern.
I'd like to find out the legalities just to make sure.
Yeah.
Because just because we do it doesn't mean that we're doing it right. Maybe, you know, if you don't mind, I'd like another week just to ask those questions and see,
Okay.
make sure that we're in compliance.
That's fine.
I don't see any issue other than that.
Okay.
When does it have to be done?
We're already out.
Oh, we're out.
We're already 9 months past, or 7 months past.
But you were waiting on them,
Not
right?
entirely our fault, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Certainly.
so we're good, but if we maybe could reconvene next week? Okay.
We meet every Monday.
Yeah.
Every Monday, okay.
Commissioner Shooty, any thoughts?
No, I think that sounds like the right approach. Rather figure it out on this end than sign something we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Figure it out before.
Yeah.
Can I recap? Because there was a lot of stuff. Just to make
You
sure.
have used your time.
I know I said I used all my words, but, so the 2 drones are gonna get you the quote, and is that going on tomorrow, or?
As long as they get it to us before the end of today, right, Mackenzie? She's gonna hate me.
She has to actually get it in the agenda though, so I would say.
Noon is usually preferable, but 2 o'clock if that works.
Okay, and if they don't, we'll do it in 2 weeks.
Okay.
That work?
We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, I'm clear on the creative office one, the building one, the Farrell one. You said 2 weeks, yes? Okay. And.
But it will still put it on there for approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. Got it. And then Axon, 2 weeks?
Which is taser.
Yeah,
Oh, the
taser,
taser.
sorry, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
taser.
2 weeks?
2 weeks, is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta get the contract to us and stuff and get it through legal.
Yeah, I've got all your numbers and signature pages and everything, but I'll make sure that we've got everything that we need to have for that, so.
Cool.
All right, have a recap. Thank you very much, appreciate it. It's nice seeing you all in person.
Yeah.
This should
This
happen
is
more.
nice.
Some of our greatest battles happen.
I know. It was a fist fight today.
Remember, you got an open mind.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate it.
Good to see you again, brother.
You too, sir.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right.
You're welcome. Give me a hug.
Thank you for accommodating us.
Yeah,
I need my hug.
All right, we'll wait until we have, after our little transition, we'll wait until we have faces of commissioners on the screen. All right. Turn it over to you, Dave.
Good morning, Commissioners. So today we've got two items. The first item that I have is the Amendment 14 to the CONCON, the consolidated contract. This comes to us a little late. The DOH got it to us in late August, and it is backdated to the 1st of July, but really we can't access those funds in back billing anything. It's $960,000, $605 through June of 2024. And you'll see in the documentation that this money is in addition to what we've already received from DOH in our previous contract. And it has, there are some more brackets around it, around work that DOH is looking to have done. And we just need this to be signed, to go forward. And we'll be moving forward with this from here on.
Well, I like the increase. I'm glad they're not taking money away.
Yeah, this is really an outcome of 11 years of work with WSALFO, working with DOH, working with the tribes, working with the State Board of Health to get some stable funding across a broad range of programs, so we can maintain those programs and have some stability in public health.
All right, commissioners, any questions, comments?
None for me.
I'm supportive.
And if we can get that on tomorrow's agenda, then we can get that signed and start accessing the funds.
All right, I can see, or I can feel what Mackenzie's saying.
I understand that completely.
David, it's your turn this week to buy flour. Actually, bring her food.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a case that actually we are discussing with WSALFO tomorrow, that this problem of getting these contracts to us this late makes it so that we can't access 2 months worth of funding. So we are going to be working on addressing that through the legislature.
Go get them, Dave. All right, so you got our support.
Okay. Now we have Melissa.
Good morning. I have another contract amendment for WIC. Our original contract goes through the end of September 2023. So this is just an extension through the end of the year and an additional $24,338. This will really allow us to just complete our hiring and our procurement of supplies, get the office set up, and we'll still have a target of January 2024 for beginning to see clients. So this does not need to be moved to tomorrow's agenda. It will be moved to, if approved, the end of September, I think the 26th.
And where's the office going to be?
It will be in Mason Health. It's a partnership between the YMCA, Mason Health, and Mason County Public Health and Human Services. And Mason Health has that clinic space inside the YMCA. And we have an agreement to use that space starting twice a week for our clinic, with the possibility of hopefully also maybe doing weekends, depending on what the need is with our clients, and perhaps maybe expand eventually. We'll have to see.
That would be great. Commissioners?
I am supportive.
You got it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Commissioners, if you haven't had a chance to go by the YMCA and see what they built for that, pretty cool little facility with a room available for them. So excited to see this finally come into fruition.
No, I know, me too. Finally.
Yeah. One of the advantages of that location is it's so trusted by so many different groups across the community.
Yep. Yeah. And it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Not intimidating, for sure. All right. Anything for Dave?
Okay.
All right. And I will be talking to you later in the day if you have time.
Okay.
Melissa too.
I will be here.
All right. Thank you. All right. We're down to Public Works. Do I see Loretta?
Loretta is actually on the road. I think that it went longer than what she had expected, and she had a previous engagement she had to go to. So I don't see Mike.
Well, yeah, I don't see anybody from their department. Can you go ahead and do it? It's the draft letter to ecology.
Oh, excuse me. Yes. So excuse me. This is I think this is in relation to the status of our county for stormwater requirements. And we are going to be reapplying for this exemption. Are the commissioners familiar with this?
Yes.
Yep. So this is, they sent us a letter, Ecology, a few weeks ago, and it was basically saying that we did not yet meet the criteria for planning for stormwater. And so this is, I think, our response back, essentially concurring with that and then keeping everything essentially status quo.
Right, that's my understanding as well.
So if this is the requirement to keep things status quo, then I'm good sending the letter.
Yep, me too.
Same.
All right, and do you know, do they need to have that, can it wait for 2 weeks or do we need to get it on tomorrow? She's got the date as tomorrow. So
And Mackenzie may know better. I think Mackenzie did talk to Loretta about getting this on the agenda for tomorrow. So
all right, that works then.
if not, I'm sure I'll hear from Mackenzie.
Okay, I'm sure you will.
All right, moving on.
Keep going. We're all going to hear from Mackenzie. Mark, before we leave this, I have some things I want to bring up. So I went to Nita's for coffee, and there was some individuals from that Beeville Road very, 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 very upset. I think we need to have Public Works. I know we asked them if they had reached out, but these people were saying they were left in the dark on it. I believe we should find a way to reach out to them again and let them know what has happened, because the culvert is already gone, and you know what the process is. That at this point nothing is planned, and just what we're doing, because they definitely had a lot to say to me when they found me. So just want to let everybody know that.
I do remember us talking about removing a culvert, which would make a road inaccessible. Can you remind me the name of that road?
I think it was Beeville, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's Beeville.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we need to do a little bit more outreach. I would agree with Commissioner Neverman on that. I think I had suggested, getting in touch with the Grange and some other options out there. And because I think there's two concerns. One is the immediate, which is that road's unusable now because the culvert is gone. And I think the right decision to remove the culvert for the safety reasons. But I think the other issue is then what do we do long term? A couple of summers ago, we had the issues out in the Agate area with a similar proposal. And, I think sometimes we just need to slow down and get back in touch with people and let them know the rationale behind things, and then what the associated costs with each decision are, and see what the comfort level is. And I know that there's a study involved with Trouts Unlimited to determine next steps with replacing the culvert. So we just want to make sure that everybody from the study to the community, that they're all kind of looped in together and sharing information and exchanging information and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
as Fisher just mentioned, we went through a whole process out in Agate, and we should, in my opinion, we should have done that same process to allow those citizens the ability to come and have a discussion down there by Beeville. I think we kind of went too quick. So with that, please keep that in mind, but they can reach out now and maybe they can have discussions now. There is a Grange out there, a great place for people to meet, and it's not too far away from.
Yeah. There, I do remember the presentation. I actually remember seeing a piece of the culvert that staff had brought back in to Loretta to have her take a look at it, and I didn't feel like we had much of a choice to take it out right now. I think that it was at such a point that it was so deteriorated that they were super concerned about it just giving way.
Yeah.
But I definitely can work with Public Works to get something on the books for talking with people out off Bureau Road.
Well, it would have allowed for them to have the discussion with one of the people I had discussion with who does this stuff for a living and was explaining the opportunity for a complete collapse when it's shored up on both sides is really, really slim. But even if it wasn't, just the idea of turning it into a trail and leaving it for a emergency access or something like that if we didn't have to take it out. But I don't know, we didn't have that deep a conversation. The community was not involved. So that's all I'm saying is we got to bring the community involved. That's done now, it's gone. So, and then I had one other thing that since nobody's here from roads, I kind of need to, I haven't had a response from Loretta. Out on Old Arcadia Road, there was a video sent to me. The video shows a hole right in the middle of the road on Old Arcadia Road. Then she took a 2-foot stick and put it in the hole. So underneath this piece that's missing that a motorcycle could definitely hit and flip is a 2 foot of structure missing in depth where they put it underneath. That means a collapse is probably imminent if we don't get somebody out there. So if you could send somebody out there to investigate that road. I don't know exactly where it is. It was all off of video stuff, but I did send her the pictures. I will send them over to you, Mark.
Great, thank you. I can work with Mike Collins to get that done. Loretta is going to be out of the office for a little while, so yeah, if you have some of those concerns, you can definitely come through me, and I can work with Mike and or Richard. So they're going to be covering for Loretta. So.
Okay.
All right.
Any other?
Nothing else. Let's move on into your briefing.
All righty. So we're going to start off with Mason Conservation District, and thank you for waiting. I know that you've been waiting for a little while. Our other items went a little bit longer than what we had planned. So,
no
Evan,
need to apologize. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, Mark. We got on early because we knew that it was an approximate timeline, so no apology necessary. Thanks.
All right, Evan, take her away.
Okay, so Mason CD's been conducting riparian restoration work throughout the county for a very long time, and we've been really focused on doing this in a systematic and large-scale way since 2009. And so as a part of those efforts, and if you don't know, riparian is referring to the vegetative buffers along streams and other shorelines. And in doing a lot of this work, we've partnered with Mason County to restore native vegetation on several properties in the Skokomish Valley that were mostly purchased with flood buyout funding. And we're interested in continuing to do that. So Megan Chapman is on the line, and she's our riparian manager, and she has put together a list of parcels where we'd like to either continue doing our work or we would like to expand the work that we've accomplished to date. And so the work is comprised of either treating invasive species and replacing them with native plants, or maybe there's some areas that just were void of vegetation due to past land clearing practices or something else. And so really all we're trying to do here is reestablish native vegetation in these critical areas. And there is an agreement that comes along with this that's required by our funding source. Hopefully you had a chance to take a look at that. It's not committing the county to anything other than, you can read it for yourself, but I like to sum it up as, you're basically just committing to not cutting these trees or plants down for at least 10 years, basically. So we've put all of the maintenance requirements on ourselves in terms of making sure that these things are successful. And so I'll stop there and see if there's any questions. I hope that none of this is new to you all. As I said, we've been doing this for a while, but we're just at a point in time where we need another landowner agreement. So here we are.
Commissioners, any questions? No, you're not getting any questions from us.
Not for me.
No, it sounds cool. I think I'll be interested to see the before and the afters. So we see the before. It'll be cool to see the after.
Yeah, especially now with the drone technology where it is, it's really easy to see these transitions happening over time now. I mean, before even in aerial photographs, it was apparent, but now when you can get these obliques on some of these areas, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you all very much.
All right.
So would the commission like to give me the authority to sign this letter and get it back to them?
It's funny. I was just going to ask that. I'm good with that. You got nods and goods. So
yep. Great. I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Evan. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's Mary.
Morning.
Morning.
Actually, never mind. It's afternoon.
It is.
So I'm gonna try and get through mine quickly. The first one I have is the 2024 to 2027 collective bargaining agreement for Teamsters Local 252 in the probation unit. We have a tentative agreement with them for that term. Again, very collaborative negotiations process. We are ahead of schedule. This doesn't expire till the end of the year. So I was pretty excited to be working with Teamsters very closely to get this done and be ahead of schedule. It's very exciting for all of us. So that was the first item I have.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, I'm supportive of moving it forward.
Awesome. Thank you. And the second item I have is some draft updates to the personnel policy. So we want to make sure that we're kind of updating on what's being currently practiced and then moving into more, HR best practice and what we can do to help make our policies more streamlined and efficient and equitable. So the updates include some additional definitions. We had confusion around what's a probationary versus trial service period. We kind of took out some redundant language in personnel action forms and how they're handled in the system. Some updates to the career incentive policy. So making sure that we have some eligibility and review changes for how the process works. And then also that compensation for employees that are something that's already in their position description. We're not, doubling up leaves, making sure that we are very clear about accrual maximums, removing the shared leave language, which is consistent with how we're doing our collective bargaining agreements because we have the new state paid family medical leave. Making sure, and the commissioners had already given tentative approval for this. We had an emergency situation, I think you'll remember, like a month or two ago. And so giving county administrator and HR authority to put someone on emergency administrative leave if necessary. And then the vehicle use agreement, changing it from annually to every 3 years. Risk management was supportive of this and making sure that we're not creating extra work when it's not necessary. And then grammar throughout the document, because I keep finding things and it just gives me anxiety and keeps me up at night. So those are the updates that I've got. And I do have the resolution. Tim Whitehead did sign it, and I think he had walked it over to Mackenzie. So she does have a signed one from Tim Whitehead.
All right. I think this is cool too. I like how you're making sure you're doing a great job. Just wanted you to know that. So this is cool. I'm good with moving it forward. Commissioners?
Agreed.
I agree as well.
So Mary, before you move into your next one, I'm going to interrupt you and I'm going to see if we can talk about the North Mason building revisions. I'm going to lose Commissioner Schutte here in about 10 minutes. And so I need to make sure that I get direction on this. And this is definitely something that would like to get direction from the board on how to move forward. Sharon, are you okay with that?
Yep, go for it.
So coming back to the commission on this, we actually went out and did some additional walkthroughs, specifically with the sheriff's office, really going through in detail the type of work that would be necessary and whether it would accommodate their staff. I've spoke with each commissioner individually to give you kind of progress reports, updates on what those were. And it's been narrowed down to what we will refer to as the green plan, which would be modifying some of the existing parking space into a sheriff's office, consolidates all the sheriff's office, so their evidence room, everything into that one area, and then leaves the rest of the building open for other governmental services. And then the blue plan actually will occupy the entire right-hand side of the building. So there will be some revisions to that area that we will need to do, but it would locate them over there. Now with the blue plan, as I discussed with you all, I believe, or I'm sure Commissioner Schutte and Commissioner Netherland, that the evidence room would actually still be located in the space that is basically in the back of that first parking area. So that is a secured room, I believe, that the fire district used to store medical supplies in. And so that would definitely have to be used for evidence storage. That's one of the concerns, is that it does break it away from the rest of where they're located. The rest of the building then, so really the center part of the building, would be reserved for other governmental purposes. Would love to have some additional discussion if the board would want to, but would like to get a path forward.
Commissioners?
I'll go ahead and go forward. We need to get this done. Somehow I think there's some different issues with how it came about, and however that is, I apologize if it made anybody feel uncomfortable, but I tried my best to bring everybody together to make the decisions, but we can't wait any longer. I will go ahead and pull the green one off the table, and we can just go ahead and move forward. We need to get it done.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that you put into the green plan. I think, ultimately, that this is a huge benefit for the county as a whole, and North Mason in particular. And I think that's the big takeaway here, that we are putting ourselves in a position to offer a level of service in Belfair that we haven't for a long time. And I think that it'll be a facility that'll serve the sheriff's office well for a long time, and it'll share it'll serve other county offices well for a long time as well, and be able to provide those services for people in North Mason that they rely on in a place that's closer to home and easier to access. And so, this is only one part of that conversation. The next part is, how do we actually then deliver on a level of service up there that makes sense, that fits within our current staffing, that allows us to grow into the future. And so I think that the outcome here is my focus. The outcome here is improving that level of service up there, and I think that's a win for the county.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't see any issues with the evidence room remaining where it's at, and also the weight room. But I think we're using an existing area, and so I like that. I think it'll work out well. So I guess you've got go ahead on the blue plan.
So go ahead on the blue plan. Okay. All righty. Well, I will get Kelly on that, and I'm sure he'll be excited to know that he has some direction and he can move forward. I don't see him on here, so I will.
I do. Kelly, are you happy?
There he is.
Oh, is that a smile?
Yeah, it's a smile and a thumbs up. All right, so get to work. I will now come back to Mary. Thank you. And Commissioner Schutte, I didn't know if are you able to stay on a few more minutes, or do you want?
Yeah, I definitely have a few more minutes. I probably have to head out about 12:15.
Okay.
Okay, back to regularly scheduled programming. The last one that I had was a 2% general wage increase for non-represented employees effective January 1 of 2024. On the budget impacts, there's the list on the sheet there. wanted to make sure that we're maintaining equity with other areas of the county that are also getting across the board increases. And again, there is a signed resolution that McKinsey has on file.
I'm in favor.
I'm as well.
I think it's good.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, Nicole.
Sorry, I was just making sure. Yeah, thank you. Good morning. So I submitted to the board for approval to enter into a professional services agreement with Canway Abatement and Demolition. And this is for the lead remediation and cleanup and mold remediation / prevention for the Mason County Courthouse. Gosh, back in June, I want to say, I remember Mark had briefed the board in regards to the consult that had been done through L&I. And so we've done a lot of work, and we were able to get this contractor to provide a proposal so that we can move forward, given the date that L&I gave us for abatement.
Yeah, this is quite necessary.
Correct.
Any questions, commissioners?
Nope. Glad that's moving forward.
Thank you.
All right.
Right.
Oh, anything else, Nicole?
No. I didn't put forward a contract. I am working on getting the contract finalized, and we'll get it reviewed by legal before I submit it over for signature from the board.
Okay. So this does not need to be on the agenda for tomorrow.
So my question, I guess, is, and maybe so I put it on the agenda for tomorrow if it was to get approved, to move forward with it, so that once I do get a contract, I can get it signed. I don't know if that's just because of the time frame we've got to be able to enter a contract within a certain time, but I wanted to make sure that the board was able to review this and review the work that's going to be done. Sorry, normally I have a contract beforehand, but it was kind of just the way we were doing things this time with just the time constraints.
So we have an extension from the Department of Labor and Industries to September 20th. My problem is that the board doesn't have another regularly scheduled meeting until the 26th.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm good with having it on there tomorrow.
Thank you.
Definitely necessary work that we need to get done. There is obviously timelines associated with it. We've made mitigation efforts to ensure that individuals aren't exposed to any lead as much as possible. Windows are no longer opened in that building because the higher concentrations of lead are on the outside, and the area that contains lead in the building is up on a very limited access on the third floor, which is an old jail facility. And that's where we store a lot of our records. So we've limited access up there and provided the proper PPE for individuals that are still required to access that area. But definitely need to get in there, get things cleaned up and remediate what we found. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. Okay, I'm gonna cut off, but appreciate everybody's work today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bye, Commissioner.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to jump into our hazard mitigation plan. John? I'm sure that the commissioners read every page of it and are ready to ask all their questions.
So I appreciate that, reading every page. Our mitigation plan was out of date, and we got a contractor. The state's behind on contracts, so it's taken us a couple years to get the entire thing done, but it is now done, and it is a requirement by FEMA and the state to have it completed. I ask that it be approved. We have partners who are getting ready to apply for grants, which it's required to have an updated mitigation plan to apply. One of those is PUD 3. So we ask that it be placed on tomorrow's agenda to be approved. And right now I attached a letter to it, which means FEMA's just waiting for you to approve it, and then they'll go ahead and approve it. So that's about where we are, if there's any questions.
So it looks like you worked with the city, Shelton, Central Mason Fire, and EMS, PUD 1 and 3, Fire District 4, and Fire District 16.
That's correct, ma'am. And they can join on again anytime, and we can update the mitigation plan. It's one of the criteria that's in the plan itself. So if those that have not participated want to add to it, we can do that and then send it back for review.
And so does this have to be approved and on the agenda tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am, because PUD 3's got a grant that goes out the following day. So we were trying to push it because the state's been behind. It's been submitted to the state for almost 4 months. So it's being able to get it through that process, and we were able to push it along. And we just asked that it be put on for tomorrow's agenda so PUD 3 can meet their criteria to apply for a grant.
Commissioner Netherland?
I'm good.
Okay, see, Steve with his hand up. Steve, do you have a comment or a question?
I had a question. So I didn't read every page, but I read most of them. And the plan looked really good overall. The one question I have is really, we have a section in there on climate change. And while that's a really popular topic these days, I think it's fair to say that the concept has not been substantiated or validated with scientific method or through scientific method. So I'm wondering why we have it in this plan when it's still in such a speculative, notional type of topical discussion.
Great, thank you for your question. It's a requirement from FEMA. That's why it's very broad. We haven't really addressed it because of that. So, but it's required to be at least listed in the plan so that it can be future developed. That is our expectation.
Okay, I just thank you for answering that question. I would hope that we read back through that language and make sure that it's as factually based as possible and not just aimed at instilling fear in the public. And that's my humble comment.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and I know that it is it's a requirement for many agencies that's included. In fact, gosh, Ted's taking classes on that and everything. I hate that it's been turned political into a political statement, but yeah, I'm comfortable moving forward with it.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all I have. If there's any more questions.
All right, thanks, John.
Thanks.
All right, Mrs. Oren.
Hello. So Mackenzie and Casey have been working on our annual employee appreciation event, which will be the 26th Tuesday. And that's where we recognize those employees with 10+ years of service. And the other item I have is Mackenzie drafted a public hearing notification policy. We don't have one, and we default to whatever the RCW says. But there are times when the law doesn't say how many times to publish a hearing notice. It will just say to hold a public hearing. So MRSC has recommended we actually establish a policy. And this policy says if the law doesn't dictate how many publications to do, that we default to 2 times in our official newspaper, which is the Mason County Journal.
No, it looks good to me, Commissioner.
Good.
Okay, that we'll put on the 26th agenda. Thank you.
Oh, good. Mackenzie will like that.
Yes, she will. I follow process.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I appreciate that.
Good morning again, commissioners. I'm next. I have 5 items for you this morning, or actually this afternoon. So the first one is the motor pool orders. So we have 11 vehicles in our 2024 rates, and typically we have ordered them by now, but since, you know, there's been the vehicle ordering shortage, we only have 3 for you at this time. 3 responders are available to order. So I just wanted to see if we could get those on the agenda for tomorrow so we can get them going. They're within our budgeted rates, no surprises. The rates have already been presented to you. And so to clarify, the 2024 rates are not, of course, budgeted for yet because we haven't adopted the budget, but the rates were presented to you back in June. So if you're okay with that, commissioners, we will put those orders on tomorrow's agenda for the chair to sign.
I'm okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you. The next item that I have is the 2024 budget calendar, and I'll share my screen so you can see that. So the PLRs, the policy level requests and budget narratives are due from departments on the 14th of this month. And I was thinking that possibly we could do the overall budget presentation of maintenance level and then the policy level requests on the 25th of September. And then start board negotiations with departments on maybe somewhere on October 3rd, ranging until October 25th or later as necessary. And this is just a proposal. We can definitely look at other dates if this doesn't work.
Yeah, I will not be available the 16th, 17th, 18th October.
Okay.
At least I'd have to be on Zoom.
Would you be able to attend Zoom? Would it be doable? You know what I mean?
If absolutely had to, but I've already learned in my life, you never know when you have the bandwidth or not. You think you do, and then you get there and you don't. And on the 30th, I would definitely be doing that one on Zoom.
Oh, and the 30th is just a public hearing notice to certify levies. So that would go to the Shelton Journal. So that's just more of really an internal thing. It's just, this is kind of all the steps that have to happen.
Gotcha.
The budget on the first Monday in December. So yeah, we could look at, even, the 31st of October and then moving into November.
And if that's just a notification.
Yeah, we could definitely keep the 30th open, and Zoom is fine. And that was something else I wanted to ask is, do you want to keep all of the budget workshops by Zoom?
I appreciate it being by Zoom because you can use this screen. You can share your screen and we can see it, and so can the public. Plus, I think it makes it easier for people to attend also.
I think sometimes we beat this one to death a little bit. We've got the system that works. I think what we ought to do is if they want to be able to have their say, we back to back them, let them have their narrative. Other than that, they put their narrative in writing. Then we come together and we establish maintenance and operation like we do. We do it early and do a quick roll up for maintenance operation. And then in the end, we can ask questions again of the stuff we want to consider and close it out.
Okay. So we'll plan on the 25th then for the budget, the overall budget presentation. Does that work well?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll go from there.
Yep. But maybe beyond that, we can even look at the things that are maintenance and operations, so we can shorten their narrative down where they have to do that discussion also. You're more aware. than most anybody. So if you are going through it and you're making recommendations or we ask questions, we get through that, then they don't have to do a narrative on it.
Okay.
Right, so you're talking October 25th?
This would be September.
September 25th.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of open items at that time, or not a lot. I mean, there will be some open items for some departments that they want to come and negotiate with the board. So we can look at maybe scheduling them in early October, maybe the 3rd, 4th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. And then making some decisions and getting it done.
I definitely think that it's important to have all three commissioners attend, especially those briefings. And so we're gonna have to work around our commissioner schedules on that to make sure that all three can attend.
Okay.
We did receive dates, and Diane put those on our calendar, so we'll see what we can do, and hopefully we can get all the heavy lifting done early.
Yeah, and I did work around the dates that Mackenzie had sent out that the commissioners were going to be out. So this does include those dates, or, you know, it takes those dates into consideration.
Thanks, Jen.
You're welcome. Okay, and I accidentally put on here that this goes to the action agenda. It does not. So that's an error. It doesn't need to be adopted.
Okay.
So the next item, unless there's any more discussion on this, the next item is the Local Assistance and Tribal Consistency Funds, LATCF, that we talked about very briefly this morning during the sheriff's briefing. So we have received $795,769.30 this year. It's been advanced to us, advanced to the county, and it's sitting in non-departmental revenue and cash. And so I just wanted you to think about, commissioners, what you want to fund out of this. I would prefer to spend it maybe this year and next year, or, you know, as soon as possible, just so that we're not carrying it over from year to year.
Well, you've seen some of their budget stuff. Is there some stuff that you can roll up that you think we should be considering? I'd appreciate the input.
I mean, the tasers seem like a perfect thing to fund out of this. And then the drones that you talked about this morning, and the software. And then as far as the other asks from the department, nothing really jumps out at me at this point. And I haven't went through and really scoured it like I should. They're all just, you know, a bunch of numbers at this point to me.
Now, if you can you have that added into the verbiage when we're passing it, where the funding would come from? And then if we do that, are we going to have to do a budget adjustment this year?
We would, yes. If we decide to expend the funds this year, it would go into that budget amendment that we do in December. So yeah, I just wanted to get you thinking about it. No need to make a decision on that today.
Something I'd like you to think about, though, and I'll talk with Jen. I have not talked with her about this before, but building 10 is definitely something that we need to get finished, and the prices came in quite a bit higher than what we had originally budgeted. And so I'm prepared to, I've got information from our architects and a revised proposal from them, but definitely I'm looking for some additional funds that could be utilized to help us get that completed.
That would be nice. I think all the courts would appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this would be perfect for that because it's, you know, one-time money, one-time costs.
Right.
Yeah, we'd save money if we could get it all done. I had them break it up into 3 different parts. And that obviously costs additional funds to have the contract broken up into 3 different constructions, because I was worried not being able to fund it. But with a chunk of change like that, I think that may help us out quite a bit.
Well, and then we're using the building for what it was supposed to be used for.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. It opens up other opportunities in the courthouse too.
right.
Okay, so we'll just, I'll start a list of possible, items to be funded out of that then, and we can bring it back again soon.
Sounds good.
Okay. The next thing that I have is the 0.09, the rural county sales and use tax funding, out of Fund 103. We have received two applications for the 2024 funding, one from the Economic Development Council, or EDC, and that one is a request for $99,000. And then the other request is for Belfair Sewer, and that one is for $450,000, and that's for a 2-year request, so $450,000 for each year, 2024 and 2025. And both of these, the EDC and Belfair Sewer, are the typical items that we fund out of 0.09. The EDC, we've given them $90,000 over the last several years, and again, this year they're requesting $99,000. Jennifer Baria did send me an email this morning stating that she had accidentally didn't put in the total project costs, and it's $449,185. So she's going to submit a revised application that includes that amount. But I wanted to see, commissioners, if we could send out letters to the ports and the city of Shelton, letting them know that we received the requests, and put this on the agenda for October 10th for funding those two applications.
I would rather wait for Commissioner Shooter to come back and have the discussions on this one.
Okay.
And that's specifically for the EDC, Commissioner?
For both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, so I can bring it back next Monday then.
Sure.
I will do that. And the last thing that I have for you is an update on where we're at with the Housing Authority and the ARPA funds. So we had given the Housing Authority $750,000 in ARPA funds on October 25th of 2022, with the expectation that they send to us progress reports each quarter. And we have received 2 progress reports from them, with a lot of help from Kate, getting information from them. And they have proven that they have spent a total of $124,659.25 out of the $750,000. We have not received second quarter, which was due in July. And so I'm concerned. I believe Mark is concerned as well. That we're not getting the information that we requested. They gave us a big box of documents, and there was one invoice in there that was relevant to ARPA, and so we're still needing payroll information and any invoices that would apply to the contract as it's written right now for ARPA. So I'm just giving you an update on that, and looking for direction. And I can bring this back again when Kevin is available, maybe next week as well.
I think that would be good. Maybe that was something
One
between
update.
now and then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying maybe you'll receive more information between now and then, hopefully.
Yeah, I
Perhaps
believe
write a letter saying we need the information immediately, as decisions will be made in the next week.
Okay.
Could possibly be made in the next week.
Okay.
Real quick, I did receive a phone call from a contractor who was contracted to do some work that is in line with what we gave them the money for. And that contractor was asking about whether they needed to pay prevailing wages. I told them that I believe that they did need to pay prevailing wages, Washington State prevailing wages. Gave them my justification, but then made it clear that I don't speak for the housing authority, but to be in compliance with the Washington State law, I believe that they do need to pay prevailing wages on work that they get done within those facilities.
Yeah, I believe that's correct too, also.
So it looks like my point in bringing this up is I believe that they are moving forward to enter into contracts to get some more of this work completed. My concern and I think Jen's concern is how much of the $750,000 do they have left in order to do that work? So it's a legitimate concern.
Okay, so
put that in as part of your request in the letter also.
Yeah. Copies of the contracts that they have.
No, yeah, either that or you want an accounting of what there is still left.
Oh, there you go. Okay, good idea.
okay, so we will send out an email today and copy all the commissioners on that email. Does that sound good?
No, because we don't want to be responding back and forth. Just send it to us after you get your response, perhaps.
Okay.
And we should send that to the chair of the Housing Authority Board as well as.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if the administrator is still working there, but.
That's the only one you need to make sure it gets to anyway, no matter what.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. We'll send that off today. And that's all that I have for you, commissioners. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm on for our next one is the animal control discussion. I believe that our sheriff's office has spoke with each individual commissioner about this. I've heard that commissioners have gone on ride-alongs with deputies and they've talked about the importance of this. This is actually something that that I've been looking at for a while. Commissioner Netherland had identified this as a concern and a need for our law enforcement and some potential options because the city was looking at what their animal control looked like. And so I've put together some information on what that would look like. And so I have 3 different positions. There would be a lead animal control position, a regular animal control, and then a receptionist type position. I have talked with Mark Ziegler from the city and let him know that within this plan, we would like to work with the city to utilize their existing facility. So we would want to enter into a contract with them to do that, as well as receive a contribution from the city for potentially a cost neutral position for them, but it could be services provided to both residents within the city of Shelton as well as Mason County as a whole. So this request is number one, I wanted to make sure that it was public that I was looking into this and all 3 commissioners were aware I was looking into this, and to receive your permission to beginning to negotiate some details with the city of Shelton if they're interested. And then I would bring back any contract proposals back to the entire commissioners to have approval for that. But definitely important to get on our radar. Jen helped me put together some of the numbers, so she obviously is aware of what that would look like from a budgetary perspective. Where those individuals are housed those employees are housed is still a topic that I'm working through, but definitely would be interested in getting down to some details with the city of Shelton to see if they have any interest in moving forward on this. If the city of Shelton didn't have interest in moving forward on this, I think this plan would look very different because the facility side of it is a big component that we would need.
So just want to clarify, although we're using the term receptionist, that other position needs to be if we move forward with this, needs to be a kennel technician of some sorts that cleans and takes care of kennels. If we get the job description wrong, we'll have some issues quickly.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we do get that correct too. I think it was basically something that we threw together with an existing position that we had in place to kind of put a cost out there of what that would look like. But we may have to create a new job description for this. The other two positions were positions that had existed in the county before. So they were fairly easy to pull forward. And I worked with Mary to cost those out to kind of do our comps in our comp counties and see what those positions are paid at. And so I put it right in the middle of where those positions came out. And what was the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about?
You also need to make sure that it's because I believe it was included in one of the union contracts, and so you need to make sure that, I mean, that's part of the conversation as you move forward also.
And that's what I was referring to about where the employees would be housed. Is that your question?
But you got to remember, just because they're within the union doesn't mean they're housed under another department. So we could still keep them in that union if we had to and housed underneath us.
Oh, okay.
And where would the van, do we have a van?
We do have we actually have a van that's an older surplus van. And so I talked to Kelly about how we could upfit that for that purpose, and he threw together some of those costs.
Okay.
And I think I'll share with you, to make this work, we have to have the discussions with the city, and we need a little more space of what they have there. We need to set it out for a minimum of 10 years to make it even worth our while, to make sure that we're protected as we're moving forward. But we should have discussions about offsetting some of their costs, because at this time the city doesn't have a lot of extra money to work with. So maybe we offset it for maybe to help them for maybe 2-3 years, but then after a 2-3 year purpose, it goes to actual cost. Whatever the actual cost is to do it, has to be put back into a contract with them. That's the only way we could probably do this and still be able to get all these things done, but it would help the city. They don't have the extra funds to be able to do this. This will help them get on their feet as well.
Yeah, in my preliminary discussion with Mark Ziegler, I just kind of wanted to give him a heads up that I was briefing the board on it this morning, so that he didn't hear about it through the pipeline before hearing about it from me. But he did mention to me that they were working to, I believe that they said they had code enforcement and animal control within the same positions. And so the city was in the process of removing code enforcement work from those positions, and then looking at alternatives for how they could move forward with animal control facility, with just animal control officers and animal control function. I did actually talk with Commissioner Commissioner Schutte about this. I think it was last week, after he had gone on a ride along with one of our deputies. One of the, without prompting, the deputy said, "Boy, if you could do something for me and my team, having some animal control resources would be extremely beneficial." Talking with Sheriff Sperling, I know that he told me that when he was looking at the number of animal control calls that we receive, that his deputies are responding to, it equates to over 1 FTE of a deputy just to respond to animal control. And he felt like a lot of that was caused complaints that coming in. So having an individual that would be able to go out and follow up on those doesn't mean that our deputies would no longer respond to those calls. It would mean that we would have an animal control person to follow up with the individuals in the specific situations to ensure that that they didn't result in more animal control calls in the future.
This works well. It'd be a situation where we are creating a safer community, both for the humans and for the animal.
So is the commission comfortable with me moving forward and getting into some additional details with the city of Sheldon and seeing what we can put together?
Nope, I'm good.
I am.
Great, thank you. And that's it.
We have one more item on there, the commissioners retreat on Tuesday, October 3rd.
Shoot. Let me get back to that. Let me get back. Oh, yes. So that is just a heads up for you guys, that we have preliminarily scheduled a retreat for the commissioners. Now, this retreat would be similar to the one that we did last year, except this would be following up on our goals that we set for 2023, with each department, and then setting goals for 2024.
Hey, Mark, before we leave, another thing for the road department, I got a hold of them. We have a need for a couple of vouchers for the trash mash. Loretta said she was going to get the okay with it and get it over to me, and they're not on my desk. But the folks from Trash Mash needed a few of them. So if you can, she said she's going to contact Kevin. Could you please reach out and see what we have so I can get something on my desk to get them?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And how long is that, the commissioner retreat?
It goes from 9 a.m. till noon. That's what we have it scheduled for.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
right.
Thank you for catching the item I missed.
No worries. And so, Commissioner, do we have anything else?
I don't, except for a motion if you're ready for it.
Ready.
Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
I'll second that. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.